Islam, peace and hotep. We're here. Oh, I mean, it's funny. Yeah, better than none. Peace, Mars. Today's class is entitled "Will the Conscious Community Come into the Constitutional Fold of Government?" Before we get into that, we got a couple questions that we got sent. We'll hit those up first and get those out the way. First question. Peace family, I've been watching a few videos from active Moors on YouTube, as well as researching much of the information presented in the videos. Right now, as far as I know, there is no temple located here in the corporate state of Mississippi, so I'm wondering if any Moors can answer a question for me. Right, so we'll deal with that issue. Right, there not being a Moor Science Temple in the corporate state of Mississippi. That's the first question. How come there isn't an institution there having to do with the Moors when the concept of the Moor Science Temple has been around since 1913? Why isn't there one in Mississippi? Right? I'm sure if they do their research in Mississippi, they'll find out that they got all these other black groups there. Right? Everybody else has an organization there trying to teach them something about anything other than their nationality and their birthrights. Right? Now, to the question, if I recognize my nationality as a Moor, how do I go about doing the same for any children that have been born who were classified as black on their birth certificates? I'm asking this because I already know that as soon as I choose to embrace my true self, one of the first things the imposters will attack is my children. I know it is important to study and research before making any proclamations so that you already know your recourse. Also, I want to say thank you to all Moors who are being active and educating those that sincerely seek knowledge to bring themselves out of darkness. So question again, if I recognize my nationality as a Moor, how do I go about doing the same for any children that have already been born who were classified as black on their birth certificates? So, one, stop saying children. Replace children with heirs, offspring. Anybody got anything else? Nobles, etc.
Nationals
Nationals. So, as soon as you say children, you put them in the jurisdiction of the so-called corporate state. Because the corporate state says that this is somebody born. Right? And if you're born, it's through birth. And if you were birthed, you need a certificate to prove that. So when you come into the mind state that you're a Moor, first thing is stop calling, well, let's even put something else in here, kids. Because everybody likes to think that that's just statement, just say kids. But, if you say kids, you're implying that your children are animals. And then when they act like animals, then we got mad at people because we put the hex on our offspring for them to be classified as animals. So now they need ADHD stuff and RHR stuff and whatever else they're gonna make up to say that only them have an issue, right? So stop saying children, say heirs, offspring, nobles, nationals, anything but children and kids. Not anything but children and kids is completely not to be used, right? Um, with having the knowledge, right? The second thing is to educate or liberate the minds of these heirs. So if you have a concept of nationality, if you have a concept of um, if you have a concept of civics, birthrights, etc. There's a book I couldn't find. Right? Remember that we have an obligation to make sure that once your mind is right, that the offspring's mind is right with your mind. So for example, we have Sister Pilar Sanders who she's going through a custody issue with her ex-husband, who's prominent guy out there in the world, right? And her her time that she took raising her children, she instilled certain things in them that is not book stuff. It's mother things, right? Things that um, they're not going to just turn away from it because somebody says that's wrong or that's bad. Because mom put them onto that. You're not gonna tell. Mom puts you onto something. More than likely, you're gonna go with it if it's right and exact and deals with certain things, right? So it went so far, like she instilled the perspective of birthrights in her children so much that the father was telling the children that they have to get rid of their Moorish name. They can't have their Moorish name on their Twitter. They can't have their Moorish name on their Facebook, whatever social network thing that they, right? Because it's something that they got from this big, even if they weren't called Moors as infants, even if they weren't called Moors, the concepts that they were taught dealt with universal principles, dealt with um, natural law, dealt with respect and things that the young ones need to know so they can be better citizens. When we take the position of giving this job to somebody, we lose. It'll be better for it'll be better for uh, it'll be better for offspring to get this from grandma, aunt, whoever down the line. If the parent has 5 jobs and they can't do it, so instead of putting them in daycare or something like that, give them to the family. Because at least with the family, there's going to be a certain level of dealing with them correctly, dealing with them, teaching them things that are cultural, you know what I mean? Teaching them things that you might know as a parent, right? That was passed down to you that automatically, they get out of line, mom's got a little spoon in the drawer that she used to use on me or whatever. right? The main issue that we have is our language. The main issue that we have is not knowing who's who and what's what. The main issue that we have is assuming things are right when they're wrong. Assuming up is up when they don't really mean up when they say up to us because they're dealing with us on a dead mind state. So when we get to this level of realizing that, oh, I'm not Negro, black, colored, I'm more, immediately, anybody younger than you, they better know that too. Immediately. And don't fall for, well, they're too young and you can't teach them that stuff and, their minds, we're going to cause, don't even go there. Don't even take that position. Islam, bro. Peace, auntie. How you doing? All right. Don't even take the position of they can't get it yet because uh, a child's mind is more sponge than an adult's. A child's mind is open to new things. They don't have blockages, right? For correction, offspring, heirs, etc. Right? Their mentality is, always aware. Just like all the adults are facing here, and the door makes a crack, and the youth man turn around and see what's going on with it because they're always looking for something to put into their mind. The problem is that we're not giving them anything to put there, so they got to rely on TV, bus, sign. Guy has Nike on, guy has Jordan on, guy has whatever, all this type of stuff. That's what they're using as, gravitating to things. But they're not picking up what they need to pick up. They're picking up things that are presented that are really dumbing them down, right? Another thing is making sure that we look at other nations and how they deal with their offspring. How do Chinese deal with their offspring compared to Negro, black, colored people? How do Hindus? What's their morning ritual? Are you ever going to see a little you know Chinese, Japanese, Philippine, Hindustani, Sri Lankan, wherever, boy or girl drinking Coke in the morning, first thing, 8 o'clock in the morning, eating a chocolate bar in the morning, maybe not eating, right? Doesn't happen. But our communities, for some strange reason, we have these tendencies to do wrong, to do the thing that nobody else ever did, but if it's warped, somebody's gonna say, "Oh yeah, I know a Negro, black, colored person that tried that or did that or attempted that and failed," and then everybody's following them when they failed, instead of checking out some real sources like the Jews. Forget they call themselves, is it real? Are they the real Jews? Whatever. What they instill in their children has them out here ruling us right now. What so-called Chinese instill in theirs has them out here ruling over us right now. Because we've gone away from nationhood. We've gone away from it takes a village to raise, right? We've gone into let somebody else do it, because we're not qualified, the ADHD, and we got all these issues and the slavery, and we were brought over here, and there's so much stuff against us. We're being marginalized, and we're always playing this victim. But people who came over here after us, they're not playing victim for anything, and they got more stuff than we got, and we've been here way longer than them, and they have more stuff than we have. Matter of fact, they're coming in our own communities, setting up stuff, right, and then passing that on to their generations. As we see now, When I was a teenager, the convenience store that we used to go to, that the Chinese guy ran, his son's running that now. Every community where I go, yo, hold on a second, who owns the store now? Oh yeah, I'm the son of whatever, I'm the cousin of whoever used to be here. Find me, you know, one thing that our people handed down to their posterity that they have right now. Asiatic can have a document saying that they're gonna donate this to their heirs, family, and they still lose that stuff and have nothing to show. But can we get checked or something like that? Well, what if I have five more? You mean you're gonna give me 3,000 a month? You don't see Chinese people doing that. I don't see Chinese people on welfare for 40 years and all that type of stuff. I don't see Chinese people in Toronto housing for 40 years, waiting on lists to try to get into Toronto housing. 10 years, they're waiting on a list. 10 years. Waiting on a list to try to get some, benefit. Pay cheaper rent or whatever like that. Right? So, in realizing that you have knowledge of self, realizing that you have a mindset that gravitates with nationality and birthrights, if there's ones that are younger than you, we have an obligation to put them onto this information, right? It's not something that we have to question. Should we or shouldn't we, or is it right, or it needs to be done. Because if we look around our community, the only ones, if we use Toronto for example, the only ones not really making any progress is our children. You might have one or two, I mean, walk across the stage, get their little paper or whatever like that, but it's not on a wide scale like Chinese. I don't think there's the equivalent of failure, right, to success compared with our community to everybody else that's out here, that's come here, is appallingly not in our favor. Why? Because we took away the concept of it takes a family. Just you go and ask these individuals who have um, um, offspring in some daycare center out here. 6 o'clock comes, if they can't go, grandma's going, aunt's going, somebody's going. They're not paying an extra $2 or whatever like that a minute because they're going to be late, making these brainwash camps rich. Because $2 a minute, 30 minutes late, right? And then you're late every day, and nothing registers with these people that you're just throwing it away.
I also had I think I was talking about this last week about sort of children are always learning by watching.
Right.
What are the role models that we have? The only thing that I ever see are these sports and musicians. Those are the things that we only ever aspire to. Because there's such a small percentage of that group, and unless you're part of that sort of construct, you will never make it. But to me, that's a real problem because when you look at the youths, what are they looking at as to what?
The template.
As a template. Yeah. I work out at the Y, 90% of them are trying to be LeBron James.
Right.
And only 1 out of 10 million will ever get to that level.
And then how much is the jobs again? 400?
There's 500 basketball players in the whole world.
Right. Right. So that's the odds. But then everybody wants to go do that. Everybody's role model is some rapper guy or basketball entertainer, whatever guy.
That's part of the conditioning too.
Right.
None of it ever has to do with education or any higher learning, right?
But again, in other because there's other nationalities that play basketball and entertain and whatever like that. But learning is something that being done from young. Learning, knowing something, especially about your culture. It's something that they know from here. Like we like there's and again it's not the reason why we use Chinese so much is because they're disciplined. They don't play with, what I mean, pants down here and not button up your shirt and stuff like that. They don't play those ones. They don't play, dirty fingernails and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Just like in the islands. School time comes, you have to have your crease in your pants, black shoes, shiny or whatever like that. You know what I mean? Collar shirt, button up to your neck. You're putting out your hands, they're checking your nails. If you got some whatever in your nails, you're going in the beat line. It's nothing personal. It's not abuse of anything. It's discipline. Because with discipline allows character to develop. Right? And majority of people who are in this jurisdiction, they're from the islands. So they know about whipping all those stuff like that. But then they come over here and because they have birth certificates, right?
That's where the corporation comes in
and tries to give orders to the parent. You can't do this. You can't discipline your child. But we'll put your son in jail. Whatever, 17, 16, just because we can, but you can't do it in your own house. It's all because of the birth certificates and all these things that we get that we think are governmental things when it's really slavery in disguise. So the third thing Islam. We're gonna move Islam or Islam. Right? The third thing is title and appellation versus name. When you realize I have knowledge of self, you know what I mean? My name is, LB, but your offspring's name is Sean, but you're LB, and you just say, okay, well, we'll just call him Sean L or whatever, because, right? What you're doing is you're taking an appellation or a title, which is different than a name because names are Christian. And as Asiatic people, we can't be or we can't subscribe to Christianity as it's taught by the Europeans. Right? Why? Because in Spain, when they kicked the Moors out of Spain, a term that they used to identify Moors who agreed to be Christians, right, is Morisco. But this was put on Moors because Moors are originally Islamic, Judaism, Gnostic, whatever. They don't deal with Christianity, right? So by them using this name, Morisco, and this means Christianized Moors, this proves that we're not Christian. And it proves that we became Christian at a certain time. Right? So when you say, you get birth certificate, and birth certificate has, Sean Henry, that's your son or whatever, right? And you come into knowledge of self. The same process that you did not to be Morisco, or Christian by saying, well, you studied, realize that your name's Albay, your name's not Franklin, Johnson, all these names that belong to Europeans. Do the same thing with the offspring. Correct their name. Correct their name to an appellation or a title. And if you're going to have offspring heirs, don't name them a Christian name. Name them a name that has no ties to European domination or hegemony. Because if we just do this part, right? Call the offspring by who they really are, right? Instead of them calling them something that they're not. Please, fine. Is there chairs right there? Is there any chairs over there? We got enough? All right.
I'm gonna
So the name has to be corrected to a title or appellation. And when you take on the title or appellation opposed to the Christian domination slave brand, then you align yourself with the ancestors. Because even the ancestors know that we're not no Christians. And then if we pretend like we're that, knowing that, ancestors know better, then we're the fools.
I think also though what you say too, the last name relates to a family line that then ties back to their ownership.
Now keep in mind, this is just for people to grasp. This family line of European name does have a tie to the Moors of Europe. Like these names aren't pale European names, because when you check the family crest of Henry, Johnson, whatever, it's either going to have crescent on it, it's going to have 5-point star on it, or it's going to have the head of brother with a headband on, whatever, and then that's known as a blackamoor. But these are European names. But they have ties to the Moors through symbology. So if we see a European, right? See a European, John Franklin, European man, right? And we ask him about himself, he'll tell you about this line and where it comes from and history of the where and all that stuff. If you ask Asiatic with the last name Henry, where they get that, they're going to tell you from slave master. And then it's done right there. They're not going into the history of the Henry last name. All they know is that, my granddad had it, and my grandma had it, and my great whatever had it, and then now I have it because it was passed down to us.
What about a name like Campbell? It has the L at the end. Campbell.
Okay, so again, from the perspective,
Vessel, Bessel.
Mitchell, right? The L is a Moorish title of nobility. So we use, like how Brother Cameron is saying, if we see people that have this on their name, right? The L on their name, whether it's E-L or E-L-L-E or just E-L or E-double-L, as Moors, we tie that to Moors. So we'll use that like one of the Moors, right? One of the Moors that came in, his name is Nigel, right? That's his name or whatever, right? So when actually that's him right up there, right? So when how I met him was at the court, so-called court, right? Um, he was in the court dealing with something or whatever like that. He bumped into one of the other Moors that was at court that day, and that Moor told him, just chill for a little bit. The head of the temple, he's just upstairs dealing with something or whatever like that. When he comes downstairs, you'll know who he is or whatever, right? So I come downstairs, this guy runs up to me, yo, are you Kudro or whatever? Yeah. Who are you? Oh yeah, I just talked to the Moors, blah blah. Hey, what's your name? Nigel. What's your name? Nigel. You know what the Moorish names or whatever? Well, I've been doing some studying, you know what I mean? I know the Bay and L and what's your name again? Nigel. You don't notice nothing about your name or whatever like that. European, whatever, yeah, you got L on your name. And then that tied him to this more than any whatever information that I could give him. Like just this alone, just him recognizing for himself, hey, hold on a second, I got L in my name. And then I'm actually studying about Moors, and then one of the Moorish names is L. And then that made it click to him to get down with this and take it serious and study and whatever else, right? So all these things like this are, we use as tools to draw people so they can take some ownership of what this is instead of, um, you know, casting this away because it's, European, right? Or it's Christian. So, we don't want nothing. We're not saying we don't have anything to do with it. We're saying in the arena of representation and claims. You don't want to claim as Henry, Franklin, Nigel, Sean, because those are going to tie you back to being under somebody's heel, right? So we're saying adopt the names that rely to your genealogy as far as like how you look, because everybody is familiar with so-called people in the Americas, specifically North America, that lost their culture and they don't know who they are, and they have been marginalized and disenfranchised, and all these things have happened to them when it's not necessarily that the things happen to them, right? It's not that we yes, we got abused, but a lot of that abuse was because we consented. Because they said, sit at the back of the bus, and I guess we'll sit at the back, because to the point that we do that today. You don't find no brothers go on the bus sit in the front. On TTC right now, if we just go on the bus and just tally people coming on the bus, everybody who looks like us comes to the back. Everybody who doesn't look like us sits at the front. That's how ingrained that is in our psyche. Go to the back, right? So ingrained in us that brother's driving and he's gonna give little brother a hard time because his transfer is expired or whatever like that. Like that's his bus or something. Like his bus comes to me before he let the youth man on the bus. He's gonna kick the youth man off the bus. He's minus 40 outside. Opposed to just let him ride the bus. Like he has a transfer. It might not be but if he has a transfer. You know what I mean? Whereas the European, I see Europeans give Europeans a slide all the time. Just get on the bus. Just get on the bus. Oh yeah, I'll even open the back door. You guys can enter on the back. Because the front's full and they don't do everybody move to the back and all that. Just open the back door. Let them enter in the back. But they're gonna look out for each other like that. Because, they have a tie. So as soon as they see us, they think, Negro, black, colored, or, not in this jurisdiction, not from here. Just because of how we look. Because everybody knows that, we're the founders of every single nation everywhere on the planet. Everybody knows that. Especially here because, this is multicultural. So everybody here is from somewhere else. And everybody that comes here knows that, hey, all we gotta do is put a store right here and these guys will come support this. Even though they're not gonna go to the West Indian store, go whatever, buy their groceries or whatever, they're gonna go to the new Chinese store that just opened, the new Chinese supermarket, go buy all the stuff there. Yam, potato, whatever else they can get at the Caribbean store. And then want to know why the Caribbean store is this big. We don't have no supermarkets. But Caribbean store's been here for who knows how long. Importing stuff and all that. Right? Any questions? Comments? Yes, sir.
You said the titles and appellations are better to take on the name. What does the title mean? Like, say, for instance, Saudi.
From okay. If we look at this, if we look at this from the perspective of not necessarily what they mean, because like L in Hebrew is going to be something. L in Canaanite is going to be something else. L in wherever is going to be something else. Whoever has the jurisdiction of the name, they're going to use it to how they see fit today, because these names have been around, but the issue is that we've never been using them, right? So the perspective that we look at these names is that these 5 names are the 5 civilized tribes that were in this land before so-called Europeans came here. So by claiming one of these names, you're claiming yourself as one of the true original Aboriginal indigenous people here. So that's really why you're doing this, because nobody has a superior claim right? Nobody has a superior claim more than indigenous people, right? We're the ones that have the claim. So we have to have the name in order to make the claim as an indigenous individual.
And if we have their name, then you can't.
And if you have their name, you can't make a claim. Right?
Can you be, is there such thing as Israelite Moor?
You can now when we say Israelite more, we're talking about people commonly known as Hebrews. right? And then they just take this off, and then they say Hebrew Israelite, right? But Israelites, right? There's that's why there's Moore's Gate. Just do your research on Moore's Gate.
The original Israelites, it had a L at the end too, right? Because the original is Yasharel.
Right.
Yeah, Israel.
And then you see that Isis, Ra, El, which are all Asiatic cultures. So there isn't a separation like how, what are the Israelites and more, and then are these guys more, and it's one culture that colonists have divided. And then we went with the colonizer stuff. And then now we're saying that, I'm conscious, so I'm gonna say that, for example, I'm Hebrew Israelite, right? My name is, Ben. My name is Ben Yapa, because I'm Hebrew Israelite. But when you ask Ben Yapa, you got some ID for that. He doesn't have nothing to show. But if Pope wants him for ID, he's gonna pull out license, he's pulling out passport, or whatever that doesn't coincide with who you're claiming that you are. So you look like the fraud at that point. Because remember, everybody already knows that we're Moors. It's not a secret that we're Moors. The issue is that we don't know that we're Moors. And we think we're all this other stuff. And when people who know challenge us on who we think or we assume that we are, we get defensive, or you're a racist, they can ask me that question and all that stuff, when, truth is, you can't prove it. That fraud that you're claiming to be. It's not provable. Now, there are some Hebrew Israelites that they got a nationality card, which means that they know that they're Moors, right? So if they know that they're Moors, right? If the Hebrew Israelite, if there's one individual that says I'm Hebrew Israelite, but I have a nationality card, right? To prove that, then all the other ones should be down with that one guy. Because if we ask any of these other guys, especially the ones that are out here, downtown and stuff like that, reading the Bible, telling people about, women are dirty or whatever like that, right? They can't prove. They're going to tell you that, God gave them their nationality, Yahweh and whatever like that. When you're not talking about, something spiritual or metaphysical or whatever. We're talking about tangible right now. Prove something to me. With if we say what's power? Oi?
T-O-A-S.
Whatever. Those guys. Buddhists, Hindu, whatever whatever they gravitate to as their basic instructions foundation, right? To be who they are. None of these people are going to show you something saying Hindu is their identity, or Buddhist is their identity, or Tao is their identity. They're going to tell you a name of a geographical location. They're going to tell you a flag that they got for that. They're going to tell you a language they got for that. They're going to tell you that, there's a particular culture that backs that. and everybody's gonna go with it because there's a track record of all these different people in the world that have dealt with these people, and it's provable that these people are legitimate. When they deal with our people, all they know is those are the guys from slavery. Those are the guys from slavery.
Also gonna have a profit.
Right? That too. They'll have somebody that came to them to bring them this frame of mind that they have. An individual that came and taught them
on a higher level.
Right? So our people have to get out of the line on themselves, assuming to be things that they're really not. Because it only puts, that doesn't affect, like, when they talk about, um, what happens to one of us happens to all of us because, we're all one people or whatever like that. We're all one people if we don't have the same nationality. If we're calling ourselves all these different names, right? If we're calling ourselves all these different names, but then other people aren't doing that, right? Then we're the ones that are in error. Because it's clear that, like we talk about, there's no Asians coming over here talking about, we need to get Asian, in office in order for us to do whatever, right?
Well, more importantly, they're not saying we need to get a yellow guy.
Or a yellow guy, right? They realize that this is an estate, right, that is vacant because the people who are the actual heirs apparent to this estate, they think that there's something else. So if the world can get us to believe, which they've done, to get us to believe that we're something other than what we are, then they can come in and they can reap the spoils, right? Because ultimately, as far as, let's say, Chinese go, Chinese have some jurisdiction here to do certain things that they're doing because, they were here when we were here over here. Chinese were here before Europeans, as far as in the Americas. So they have jurisdiction here. When Chinese are going into South Africa to go rob mines and stuff like that, they have jurisdiction there because that place that they call Africa is really South Asia, right? South Asia, right? Asia Minor, Asia Major, right? So they have jurisdiction to go there and do whatever with the mines. The problem is that the people in South Africa are calling themselves South African, which takes them outside of the jurisdiction that has jurisdiction over the land to make a claim. Because everybody knows in the world that Africa comes from Scipio Africanus, Roman general. So if you want to be African, hey, cool, but don't get mad when they take your stuff. Because you're calling yourself something that you're not supposed to be calling yourself, especially if you're from that particular geographical location. You should be calling yourself what the indigenous people of that land call themselves. And I know they didn't call themselves South Africa. But that term's modern. But if they can, just like how they got us to buy into black, they got everybody on the continent buying into whatever the fraud is that European made up. Actually, a good book is How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. How Europe underdeveloped Africa. And then keep in mind that, he wrote that book and then he went to his car and turned the key and his car blew up. Just so you know how they think about people that are talking from the perspective of, Europeans colonizing, stuff and all that.
Who was the author of that book?
Huh? Walter Rodney, right? Um, the next question. I've gone into temples and it was nothing but church on Friday. I'm domiciled near corporate defunct city of Philadelphia. I have a allodial title and enforcing claim to our vast estate, as well as another hoping to gain more for us and nationalize the property through the temple, being as though we are the only lawful government, while also creating business and industry for us as well as the prophet instructed us to do. I cannot find help to bring this to the physical plane because my friends that were following York are not sure in who they have even thought they have seen men in action. I need help. I don't want to waste time. Can you please call me? Blah blah blah. Right. So for that one, I'm gonna get your number to brother Sepen Rabe, so he can bring you up to date. But with regard to um, people who are fought, because remember that, and like we say, usually, um, we put out the titles for classes on the day of the class, right? These are questions that people sent, not having any connection to the title, right? So the title of today's class was "How or Will the Conscious Community Come Back into this mindset that we're teaching about, civic mindedness, constitutional, whatever, right?" And then he brought up the people who are following Dr. York, right, which is one of those, conscious community people. Now, once again, right, just like the Hebrew Israelites, there are people who were under this jurisdiction of Malachi York that they know that they're Moors, right? Right, ancient Egyptian order, or commonly known as Nuwapian. Some of them know that they're Moors. So, Malachi York, he's right up there next to the picture of Noble Drew Ali in front of the mic with the yellow thing on it. He got the fez on, just like what we're wearing. So even their teacher knew about the status of being Moors. Matter of fact, their name is United Nuwapian Nation of Moors. That's their full name, not just Nuwapian. So when they, start pushing, we're Nuwapians, we have to ask them, what about the United Nation of Moors part that you're not mentioning? Because they should be letting the people know. Because the obligation, just like, remember that if somebody is in the state of being called a minority, right? That means that their mind is minor. Doesn't mean that they have low numbers in their nation. When they say minority to certain people, and only certain people get called minority. Nobody else gets called minority, and nobody else accepts it like these particular people. That means mind is minor. And if your mind is minor, then you're infant. Which goes back to what we started at in the beginning, that if you have this knowledge of not just being Nuwapian, but being a united Nuwapian nation of Moors, you have an obligation to tell everybody in the order so that they can get from the infant mindset into competent mindset. So we're not going to say go from the infant mindset into adult mindset because adults are stupid. So we say competent mindset. And then if we say competent mindset, then infancy is really incompetence. And it's not about being incompetent. Dealing with these people out here that call themselves police, RCM